Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast. You can find us at WTEpodcast.com. I'm Mike Margulies, today in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, joined by my friend Jackie. Welcome aboard, Jackie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So Jackie and I, we actually met originally like a year and a few months ago. It was, so back then I was still a working man, actually.
Yes, it was here in Kuala Lumpur.
Here in Kuala Lumpur,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing my testing the waters trip, 3 weeks of traveling through these parts to see, hey, can I do this? And well, it turns out the answer is yes.
Yes. I did the 3.5 months last year when you met me. And now you're doing a huge journey. Was it 9 months or so?
Yeah, it's been 9 months so far. It's funny, I remember when we first met, like a year and whatever ago, it was kind of like we were opposite of each other in some way, right?
Yes.
Because I remember you were saying, I just quit my job to go backpacking, and I was like, that's what I'm about to do. And then, and I was talking about ayahuasca, and you were saying, oh yeah, that's something I want to do. And we sort of traded.
We traded. I ended up, you came from Peru, and I ended up going right afterwards. A few weeks after I returned from Southeast Asia, I went to Peru.
Yeah.
And then now I'm settled, actually settled here in KL, and you are traveling. So
yeah, so we meet again here in KL.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, the ayahuasca bit was something that I was interested to touch on, because it's something that I've touched on briefly on this show before, I think very briefly in episode 16, but I don't think it's been given its due airtime, maybe, because it was, even back in episode 1, I kind of danced around the subject out of my own, I guess insecurities at the time. But it was an important thing for me. And for those who don't know what ayahuasca is, what's the best way to describe it? I would call it like a psychedelic medicine. Is that the best way to describe it?
It's derived from a root and some leaves. It's 2 different plants that get put together to they have dimethyltryptamine.
Yep.
And then the other side of the plant has this blocker so that your body doesn't break down the dimethyltryptamine, and it's able to do its effects. So it's a DMT plant, what they call a spirit.
The spirit molecule.
There's that, yeah.
Yeah, DMT,
exactly.
Dimethyltryptamine, is produced in your brain, and it's what's released when you die.
It's a natural substance. Yeah, it's produced when you die, when you're born, and when you have very, very emotionally or traumatic experience, that sort of thing. So it's very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
A natural thing. It's something that's used a lot, in Peru.
Yeah, exactly. And DMT can be extracted, say, smoked, and have a 10-minute thing. But in the Amazon, what they do is, like you said, they mix it with another plant
and
make a brew, the ayahuasca brew, and you go on this sort of 4-hour-long journey deep into your own mind, basically.
Yes. You're basically using your own natural chemicals, but it's given to you by this plant.
Yes, it's sort of and for me it was. I had my experience back in September of 2012, and it was in many ways the thing that it gave me the kick in the ass I needed to start this journey I've been on, actually.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's funny, and then you inspired my journey, and then
wow, if I helped to inspire that, I'm humbled.
And you're inspiring a lot of people, I think. So.
I'm happy if that is the case.
And I think I might have misspoke earlier. I'm not super well versed. I think it's a vine, not a root. Vine, and it's same as sama.
To be, if we're going to be super technical, the ayahuasca vine and there's the chacruna leaf.
There's so much misinformation, and there's so much fear surrounding this, and it'd be awesome to talk about it just because we've had personal experiences with it.
Yeah, I think there is a lot. I think many people hear about things like this and they have this knee-jerk reaction like, drugs, oh my God, drugs are bad, psychedelics, all these things, and 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 it comes from a lot of things, right? There's been a lot of misinformation spread, I think, when in fact, if in reality this is something that's been practiced for much longer than the war on drugs has been going on, for thousands of years they've been practicing this in ancient cultures, and it's something that they have used to do these introspective, deep journeys. And it's something that today is now getting more attention, ayahuasca. Many people are using it and finding it to help themselves. And I guess we can speak for our own.
So many things. You can actually break addictions to different sort of drugs,
Yeah.
use cocaine, whatever you want to, alcohol abuse, whatever you want to stop. People use it to connect with their loved ones who have either passed away or just not listening to them in this life, whatever it is, or just themselves to answer things. A lot of people come with like, what am I supposed to do with my life? And sometimes they find, the answer. Sometimes they find the answer and they don't even know that they found the answer. That's the other beauty of it. So sometimes there's a sense of humor involved. But
definitely.
I definitely want to talk about just our personal relationships with it, and everybody has their own relationships.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Like, do you have a specific story or experience you want to relay from an experience?
Yeah, I mean, so many. But one of the things that to me is most important that I get asked all the time is it safe? Is it safe? Like, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to ruin my brain? Will I come out of this?
Right.
Like that sort of thing. And yes, it is. The thing I usually try to talk about is mixing ayahuasca with other things. I wouldn't mix it. Like one of the things that gets mixed with a lot is angel's trumpet, and that is potentially.
What is angel's trumpet?
It's a beautiful flower. It's a beautiful flower. Also has psychedelic effects, but you have to be very, very careful. I just say, my personal experience, stay away from it. Because it is potentially fatal, and that's has nothing to do with ayahuasca. It's just some people think they get cocky, and they like to mix.
So they mix these things together, it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
I think.
Or angel trumpet by itself is dangerous. It has nothing to do. Ayahuasca by itself is like, there's no way you potentially. I know there's like a few accounts of people, but basically it's like anything. Somebody had like a heart attack because they did tons of it and they were like 85 or something. They were probably gonna kick it anyway. But
well, I'd say if you statistically you look at things. I mean, there's always risks with everything. But by and large, this is not. This is a pretty safe thing. Yeah.
It's negligible. The risk. There's almost nothing that could potentially. There's always the same thing that for many, many things, if you're starting any activity, especially those sort of activities, is to be in the, in a happy, comfortable mind. You don't want to be like, oh my God, I'm so pissed or angry or sad, and then start your journey. You want to kind of be, optimally in a shamanic, environment with your friends, whatever makes you feel good.
Right, and that was how we both did it, I guess. I know for me it was, I basically went to this a center in the Amazon, and there was a shaman there, and he was singing a song, the Icaros, and you're kind of sitting there, and it was, you may have had a similar experience, I think, also, where it's just in pitch black, and this singing's going on, and you're in a room with a bunch of people, yet you're actually all alone.
My experience, a tiny bit of backstory, was I went over there to actually live with a shaman and his family.
Yeah.
They taught me, they said, hey, we want to exchange English classes for shamanism classes. And I was, studying shamanism all over the world at the time. And so I wanted to study Peruvian style, And so I went down there for a few months, and that was basically it. So I developed a relationship with the shaman. I was able to ask him, we would go through the journey, and then I'd come out of it the next day. We'd be having lunch, and I'd be like, well, what do you think about this? It was very, very intimate, very friend oriented, and his whole family. I'd hang out with his daughter and all that good stuff. So
that's amazing.
It was very cool, very relaxed, very fun.
You were living with a shaman for like what, a month or so?
A few months. I think it was 2.5 or so.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah, but I guess it's not like you were sitting there and just addicted to doing ayahuasca every day kind of thing.
I had basically it was like I don't want to call it a buffet, but it was there constant. I mean, I couldn't have finished it if I did it all the time.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I didn't. I did it the times that I felt like I needed it, which was not very many. It was you even told me do more, do as much, do a ton. I was like, I don't, and that touches on the next thing. If you've never done ayahuasca, you really need to respect it, because everybody says there's their party drugs, whatever you want to call it.
No, this is not a recreational drug. Oh my God.
You definitely have, it's more of a spiritual, I would say. And a lot of the times is you will end up throwing up or having I mean, I've had accounts of people experiencing what is known as death in their after you're supposed to be recommended, I guess, like doing it 3 times so that you get like a full kind of a cleansing of your body, mind, and spirit. What is it? Yeah, you start to develop kind of if you don't throw up the first time, chances are I threw up actually. Well,
I didn't vomit the first time actually. The first ceremony I had, it was like this amazing and beautiful, and everything was great. And it was the second night that I did it where it really kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And every night after I did it, I was vomiting. And it was like, there's this moment where I'm just like hovering over this bucket and I'm vomiting, and my mind is torturing me with all the things I'm afraid of and insecure about.
Not always beautiful.
And I was just like, what did I get myself into? You know, like here I am in the Amazon vomiting into a bucket and totally being my fears and everything's just torturing me right now. Yes. What am I thinking? But at the end of that ceremony, and although sometimes they were good, sometimes they were bad, you come out stronger though. It's like you're a phoenix, born again from the ashes.
Oh, definitely. So much learning.
And it's like, I can't even say what ayahuasca is like, because it literally, every single time I did it, it was different for me. True. And for every single person who does it, it is different for that person.
True, very true.
And so it's like, it's hard to even say what it's like, because every time you think you know what it is, nope, it'll show you something else.
Yeah. It's always learning. And I would say there are some rules to it. And now that you talk about your experiences. So there's that. You're going to have a little bit, at least for me, there's a time I couldn't even smell it without thinking about it. It's kind of like a bad night with alcohol or something. You really, it's just personal. You do it when you feel like you need to do it. Recommended is 3 times. I would say some of the rules about it are just don't fight.
Submit.
Don't fight.
Submit is the number one rule, because
If you, one of the stories actually that I have about it is the first time I did it, no throwing up. I was like I was actually in a room full of people, and I just kind of honestly embarrassed, even though I was going through the trip. I didn't want to be the one heaving, because I was like, no one else is doing it yet, that kind of thing.
I found that once one person vomited, it would be a chain effect.
That's true.
In the room, as soon as the first person did, then everyone just boom, boom, boom.
Yes,
you would hear a chorus of vomiting coming.
Yes.
This comes back to, this is not a recreational drug. This is not for fun. You're not going because you want to trip balls or whatever. No, this is like you were saying, for spiritual growth, and
you're looking for something.
And also coming back to you're asking, is it dangerous and all this stuff? It's also, the other question comes along with that is it addictive? No. The opposite of that.
Really.
You're not going for this experience oh yeah, I want more of that. You're kind of just like you were saying, no, I'm good. I kind of got what I needed.
Yes. And then you'll start to feel, I need to do it again when the time is right.
Exactly.
And you go and do it again.
Yeah.
So that's one of a don't fight is a big one. And then the other one is, going on that, I started fighting. I don't want to throw up, or I don't want to move. I was very comfortable. I had a really great experience. I was very comfortable, and I didn't want to move out of where I was. I ended up getting body aches. And I would account this personally, who knows, I don't know, but I would say it was spiritually induced. And I was in so much pain, and I asked, I couldn't even sleep sometimes. And I asked the shaman, I'm like, why am I in pain? And he's like, you need to, go through the process of cleansing. We talked about it. And at one night, I was sober, meditating, and I ended up vomiting sober. Very similar to the ayahuasca effects.
Wow. This is the day after an ayahuasca ceremony? Or
maybe the 2 days after, something like that. And I just meditated. I was like, I don't want to do ayahuasca right now. I meditated completely sober, and it was actually, I ended up, having the cleansing effects, spiritual and physical cleansing effects.
That's interesting.
And I did it sober,
Wow.
and it was something that just needed to be done. I had a connection with my higher self at the time of meditation. Because I tried to vomit before, I'm like, man, I feel bad. I feel my pains in my arms and legs.
Yeah.
And my whole body just felt, it hurt so much I couldn't sleep. And I just leaning over the toilet, nothing. I was like, all right, I'm going to meditate. And that's when it happened. It just flowed. It was what I call kind of a beautiful experience.
A beautiful
throw.
Beautiful vomit.
Yes.
It kind of, what they say is when you are purging with the ayahuasca, it's kind of letting out that negative energy or whatever, your toxic. They're saying it, and whether it's, and people talk about this is real, so not, are you actually letting out any negative energy, or is it just a physical thing? It doesn't matter. If you believe this is kind of real, I am purging these negative things out of me, it becomes real for you.
Correct, yeah.
And
I believe it's both.
Although for me, actually, I do remember how I felt in that moment, because I remember everyone around me when we were talking about the purging, and everyone was like, oh, I love the purge, it's great. And when I was doing it, I was like, this isn't great at all. oh, this is terrible. I'm just here vomiting, and I feel like shit right now. Like this is awful. Yeah, so for me, it was like, I didn't actually feel that like warm and fuzzy, like, oh, I'm letting this out. I just felt in that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But came out of it, I think, stronger. I mean, it's what you were saying, submission. I think, you know.
Yes, definitely. Yes, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And it helps. That's what helps about the shamans. They answer those questions. You're like, for example, I saw a lot of people see eyes, tons of eyes. A lot of people see serpents, which we have associated to be, oh, that's bad. You know, serpents are not bad. It's actually one of the things we talk about, Kundalini energy, which is a coiled serpent. It's a very spiritual, like, gatekeeper.
And many people experience the serpent.
Yes, they do, and they are afraid of it because a lot of times you have Westerners who associate Christian or Catholic beliefs of the serpent to be evil. Not so true. It's actually more, it's a very, very positive thing that happens. And they get afraid and they're like, oh my God. Or even I've had few, including the shaman I was working with, he's died many times actually, in ayahuasca experiences. And so to not be afraid, like if you face your death, if you face your fears, if you face yourself, demons, whatever it is, like just basically, here's the other trick is you accept, but you vibrate on love. So you say, I am love, you know, pass through, come through, but I am love. And this area is love. If you want to be here, you must vibrate with me in love. And that's basically the trick, is just to let it all happen. You'll die, you know, quote unquote, within the experience, and then you'll be reborn again after you come out. And so many people, when they hit, maybe you won't hit it in the first time you do it because you're afraid, but when they finally hit the point, I never hit it because I only did it, I think 4 or 5 times or so. It wasn't even that much in the several months. But when you are faced with that and you actually say, okay, you're fine. You'll always be fine. But too many people are like, am I really going to die? So it's a little scary. It's really hard to explain to unless you've experienced it.
And for me, it was sort of like, you know, I felt like there's this moment where I was just being tortured and attacked by myself or external things. I don't know what they are. You know, visions, they were coming to me, terrifying things, terrifying thoughts. Right. And there was this part where I was like, wait a minute, this too shall pass. You know?
Yes, and that's the trick.
And what I did was like literally physically laid myself out. My arms and my legs spread open. Like I opened my body up. Like, you know, the fetal position is like the terrible thing you do when you're scared. You protect yourself, guard yourself.
Correct.
I did the opposite of this, where I literally opened myself up completely. And I said in my mind, I said to like myself or to the extra, whatever this thing was that was coming at me, I said, have at me. Give me everything you've got. Because guess what? I'm here and I'm still breathing. So hit me with everything you've got and I'm still going to be right here and breathing. Mm-hmm. And I breathed in and I breathed out. And with this breath, I felt empowered. And in that moment, when I like laid there and said, give me everything you've got because I'm still here, that's the moment when it vanished. And quite literally, they're like faces.
That's true.
That like, I looked them in the eye and they went, gone. Yeah. And it was just, it's that submission. It's like that moment when you just literally face and it's kind of symbolic. It works through symbols, I think, right? Yeah. It's like you face your fears and they go away. What do you know? And it's so cliche sounding almost, right? Face your fears, but then you experience it and you're like, oh, I get it. I know what people mean, that cliche expression. It's actually something real.
Yes.
And then you experience it and then you know, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, don't judge. That's another one. Don't judge. You see scary, you know, demonic things. You see whatever. There's many, many things, you know, and you just don't judge. Just like observe, accept. Yeah. The thing we used to do is, you know, you have to. There's the love yourself aspect, but we used to say something before you would go in, and it would be, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly how it is, but it's actually this Hawaiian song, and it was like, "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me." Something like that, and it has the key elements of like, you know, thanking, there's gratitude, there's like forgiveness, you ask for forgiveness, and I love you, and you say like, what was the other one, I forget, but anyway, there's the 4 key elements. Thank you, I'm sorry, you know, please forgive me, I love you, that kind of thing, and that's key, and you'll notice that with everything. I mean, touching on something like manifestation, and all that stuff, intention, all that stuff. If you practice happiness, you know, people are always like, I want to be happy. If you practice gratitude and love, forgiveness, and, you know, like forgiving others and asking for forgiveness, that's both of those things, and you're pretty solid.
And that's the message, right? This message is love, and it's like you experience degrees of ego death, and you start to see like it's not about being right, it's about spreading love, and you know, you don't have to prove you're right, and we all have our own little each of us has a view of reality that's skewed in some way. We have our own lens we look through, and so my view, it's not for me to prove anyone I'm right or wrong about anything. It's like, hey, it's about love, you know. And that was definitely something I experienced when in the ceremonies, where I was thinking about conflicts and relationships of my life, and it was, you know, it came on me to repair these relationships. It doesn't, even if I think I'm right, I need to, where I think someone else did wrong, forgive them without a sorry. And I need to even take the first step before I go and say, hey, I'm sorry for my part in what I did. Because anytime there's a conflict, it's sort of like, there's something I did that was a response, so I still had a part. Right. So it's like, I need to go and forgive, and I need to apologize. I need to thank.
Exactly.
Thank for what someone, all these things together. And if I'm good, I can steer the ship. I need to be the one to step up and make it right.
And not judge, and that's the biggest one.
And there's this ego that's like, oh, that person was wrong. That person was wrong.
We have 5 senses that we, you know, touching on the subject of not being able to even see the full spectrum of light and hear the full spectrum of sound, and yet we believe that we know how, you know, we know what's up, we're going to judge. It's like, try not to judge, and you'll save yourself a lot of pain.
It's crazy. We see, like, of the total electromagnetic light spectrum, we see this thin, tiny slice that's the visible light. Right. And there's infrared, there's gamma rays, X-rays, all these things going on around us all the time. We have no idea about sound. Same thing. We hear this thin slice of sound. We were talking about sharks the other day. Yes. They can sense electric fields, and we can't. There's just things that we perceive of, and such a thin slice of what's actually going on around us. And that's sort of this is actually another thing that people debate about the DMT ayahuasca experience is, so you see these, for me it was like jester characters. Right. The jester was the character that comes, and, you know, and it wasn't like the visions for me, not like seeing it with my eyes, like a hallucination, like he's actually there. It was like just in my mind's eye, just like if you remember what someone looked like, you remember what your mother looks like. It was like this thing, but he would have a position in space. In space, he would be like laying down next to me and waving to me, hello, and this little jester guy. And eventually, once I learned the submission thing, it was just like, okay, I guess this is what's going on right now. Hey, what's up, man? I guess you're here with me. How are you doing? And just like accept. He's like this mischievous guy. He wasn't really harmful, but I just accepted. Okay, I guess I'm hanging out with him now. And there's this question of conventional science is going to say, oh, this is a hallucination, right? You have taken this chemical, dimethyltryptamine, it's interacting with your serotonin receptors, and you are producing a hallucination. But then afterwards, I actually went on Google, and a friend told me to try to look this up. He said, you know what, that's a common thing people see. This isn't just you. Sure enough, I typed in DMT space J. It auto-completes to jester. Like, other people are searching for the DMT jester. And I saw experiences on Google. Yeah, the DMT jester. And I read accounts online of other people who had a strikingly similar experience. And it makes you wonder, like, wait a minute, what is this? There's like, everyone has a jester part of their brain that you hallucinate about. Like, it makes you question, like, maybe there is something going on here.
That and you can't perceive. No?
And I'm not one to say, you know, and that's the traditional interpretation. The shaman will say, yeah, there are spirits that you're interacting with. And when you take DMT, it's not a hallucination, but in fact, you're unlocking those other, you know, we see, like we were just talking about, such a thin spectrum of reality. And it's unlocking more of that. And that's the traditional shamanic interpretation. For me, I think we've talked about this earlier too. I just don't know. Like, am I hallucinating, or is this some spirits I'm actually seeing? I don't know, but I think what Joe Rogan says is it doesn't matter.
That's the thing.
It's like you experience it and it helped you.
Yes.
That's the point.
Just don't get caught up in the details.
Yeah, exactly. It's like debating whether these things are. That's not the point of the experience.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. Just really like, what is, it sounds kind of funny, but the spirit of what the message is. Just look at the spirit of the message, like the details of whether, is it real to me, what is real, all that stuff, cool. If you want to think about it, awesome. But really, that's not the most important thing.
Exactly.
So.
And to me, the most important part of it is it got rid of the clouds for me. Because my whole life I've been, whether it was done intentionally, it was all done generally probably to help me by society, my family. Everyone thinks they're operating in your best interest, trying to help you, giving you a view of reality and things of what you think you should be doing. And my whole life I've been trained to think a certain way, to have certain, the job I was in. It was like, this is the life I was kind of handed. Like, you're supposed to do this, get a good career and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
whenever someone says supposed.
Right, exactly. Well, this is where it was like, what ayahuasca did was, it kind of parted that fog and let me see for me what was my truth, and it got rid of that and let me see for myself what I really wanted to be and do without that. And it was like, it revealed to me things that I really deep down think I always knew, but I could now see them clearly. And that was where, and I knew.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think I knew before. It's funny because I knew before I went to Peru, I was like, I know when I leave this ayahuasca ceremony, this time there with the shaman, I know I'm going to quit my job. I kind of knew going into it that's what I was going to learn. And I just needed to go in there to find get it, the message the right way, to understand it. I knew that's the conclusion I was going to come to, but I didn't understand it yet, I guess. It's kind of like in the Matrix. Really, you already made the choice. Now you need to understand the choice.
Yeah, sometimes you feel it. It's something really that you have inside of you, deep down, this is what I'm at.
And that's what it was.
You kind of kid yourself over and over and over. Yeah. There's many layers of that, and ayahuasca just really pushes in your face.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
I think I knew deep down I was going to leave this job and I was going to go backpacking. And it was like, I went there to understand the choice.
Yes.
And that was...
And to feel like, okay, that is right. That feels right to me. That's your personal truth, which is something I usually speak about a lot. Your truth is personal.
I agree with that, yeah. We all make our own truth, right?
So don't judge. Just do your thing, share your thing, and accept others' things kind of thing. So speaking a lot about ayahuasca as well, the questions people have, where do I do ayahuasca? That sort of thing.
Right.
Iquitos
is where I did, yes.
I did it in a place called Chaclacayo outside of Lima with the family. But little tips and tricks, because I really don't want to call them rules. I keep misspeaking. Tips and tricks.
It's things from your experience.
Correct, exactly. Like I said, don't have it, if you have a shaman that mixes, don't you just want to do pure ayahuasca.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they know what's up. Sometimes, they'll try to be I guess, should we talk about costs? How much it costs right now, or no?
Go ahead. For me, it was expensive. I think it probably varies based on where you go, yeah. But yeah, I spent a whole lot of money. I could have found a cheaper one, I imagine.
Yeah, you can. There's expensive. I know there's some workshop, retreats. It really depends how much you want. Really, just do whatever you feel. But maybe for a night, it's around $50-ish.
Yeah, mine was actually a lot more. Yeah,
depends.
You can find it.
Depends who you're looking for. The popularity of their, how well they market.
Right.
You can go into the couple $100 kind of range as well. But really, you don't need to. If you are on a budget, you can do ayahuasca, and it's not really. You just really, I think the best tip would be feel out when you go there. You'll start kind of connecting with people. Feel out, meet the person, and just go, okay, this feels right to me.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty much it.
And I probably didn't do it the right way, to be honest. When I did it, I had planned it out in advance. I had it all booked in advance. I knew the place I was going. I did a bunch of research online, is what I did. I went.
It's good to do that.
Yeah, I did. I looked for different centers, and I looked on the websites for I have a whole Google. I think I shared this with you at one point, actually.
You shared it. Yeah.
This whole Google Drive document with links to all the different ayahuasca centers I could find.
But I think that's good. Do your research in advance. I think it's going to be more expensive if you find the ones that are more credible. But you're going to be, if you're concerned about it, it's safer. If you're not as concerned about it, it's hit or miss. I was very lucky. The guy I worked with, his website is his name is Jose Luis, but his site is Ayahuasca DMT. It's so I think he's got a few. It's ayahuasca.com.pe as well, which is PE standing for Peru. He's a great guy, awesome. He's amazing shaman. But also just really laid back, down to earth. He would tell me all the time, like, I'm not going to sing around and dance for you. I'm not going to do these chants. I'm just going to.
So you didn't have the Icaros? You had
no,
interesting.
No, nothing like that, actually. It was really like straight down and like chill. And we would talk about, okay, I'd tell him I saw this, and he would explain everything to me. But it was really like, I was like, I'm not. I mean, he would say, I'm a real person. I like to party. I like to hang out. I like to, occasionally drink. I'm not like this
human
like
being.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a lot of people they
try to come up as a guru. Like, I'm enlightened. I'm a guru.
Right. He was like, no, it's just like, oh, and here's a really big trick that I actually forgot to tell you. He said he would say that I'm like you. You and I were similar, He's like the real teacher. He's like, I'm only one of your teachers. The real teacher is inside of you.
That's it. Well, that
huge.
That is how you know someone's a good teacher. Like I always get turned off when someone's trying to put an idea into me. Like that was a big part of my rejection when I did the Vipassana meditation course, for example, which, by the way, I had profound experience there, and I grew tremendously from this course. But the part that I rejected was where they were trying to tell me a worldview.
See, rejection is cool, because you got something really good out of it, even though it was in the form of rejection.
Yeah, I absolutely. The rejection was part of the way I grew from that course, for sure. But what I appreciated about the ayahuasca experience is that there was no one telling me what I'm supposed to experience, what I'm supposed to do, what reality is. It was, no, they just give you this brew, you drink it, and you see for yourself what you're supposed to see, what you need to see in that moment. And that was something I really appreciated. I think, if I were to go back again, which I'm sure someday in the future I will go back and have another experience. I don't know. It was good that I researched it. I did some research online and found a place. Although I might be inclined in the future to just go to Peru, go to South America, or Lima, wherever I'm going, and see for myself, feel it out.
Especially because you've done it already once. I think for the people that are trying it for the first time, if you want to go safer, why not? But if you're trying it again, you can be a little bit more like, okay, I know how I feel. Because a lot of the things people ask, will I lose control? That's another really good thing. It's like, will I lose control of my body?
You're so lucid.
No.
You're so lucid. It's like your mind is even better.
You're pretty much in control. You know what's up.
Lucid.
Unless they mix it or something, but you know what's up. You're tripping, yes, but at the same time, it's like there's a very comfortable side to it where you're just very happy, very controlled.
Yes,
that sort of
you're
thing.
with
in control of yourself. Yes, with it is a good.
I would say, I guess the one flaw did you find your shaman online previously? You kind of like
word of mouth.
There's
a shaman friend that I had in San Diego, also an amazing person, who was like my shaman friend in Peru, and it was like. Universe provides kind of thing that you always talk about, where it's like you're looking for something, your intention is there, I want to go, and this stuff is manifesting. It's manifesting faster than it used to as well.
Right.
But yes, no, I did not find him online, but he is online, and if anybody wants to ask or whatever, I'm more than happy.
He has your recommendation.
Definitely.
Well, it's good to get something like a word of mouth or feeling it out for yourself. The pitfall I felt for doing it the way I did was that, I will say the place I went was flawed, for sure. Online, it looked like this was the place, this is it. But when I was there, I've just talked for however long about how amazing experience it was. And it was life-changing and transformative. But were I would go again, this wouldn't be the center I would go to. I think that, and I'm not going to name the name because I don't want to spread any negative things, but for me, I didn't feel like, once I was there, I felt like the person who was the head of it was kind of a deeply flawed person himself, and it was, was maybe having an unhealthy effect on some of the people coming there for healing, to heal themselves. I think he was contributing to them not healing in some ways. And I don't want to go too much into that because, that's not the point.
And I can understand that. I've seen that with many, not just ayahuasca, but just in general, where everything is, in my opinion, everything is a balance, strives for balance in a 3D material existence. So as above, so below. And sometimes when you have an overcompensation of spirituality, you end up having this like undercompensation as well. I don't know if that's the same thing, but that's something I've noticed across my travels, where there's really always like, wherever there's too much, there's always like not enough somewhere else, kind of thing. It balances, whether that's polar or whether that's kind of right in the middle. I don't know. It's hard to. That's something I'm still thinking about a little bit. Yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, in that center, maybe for someone else, may be perfect. One thing I noticed of too is I spoke with a couple who did another they did an entire retreat. I forgot how many days it was, but it was probably like 10 or something intensive. Like they would do ayahuasca every single day, and they were like, oh, please no more, because you have that effect that you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm like gag reflexing, and they did it constantly. And I would say, it depends really on what you want. Do you really want that? For me, no. But maybe for some other people, like doing it when you really, really, really don't want to could lead to, growth and
a breakthrough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could have a breakthrough. So it's personal. It's always personal.
Well, everyone's got to sort of steer their own ship. Is kind of what that's what we're saying ultimately, right?
Yeah. Research online. Ask your friends. Do something that feels right to you, and you will end up. The universe always kind of
it's like I feel like it's a kind of ayahuasca kind of thing that it if it calls to you.
Yeah.
If it's calling to you, then you know it's calling to you, because right now you're probably hearing this like, oh my God, I need to do this. If that's it, then pursue that thing,
You feel it too. You get excited. You get inspired. I think that's kind of a divine, I talk about emotions being like a divine thing, and when you feel that inspiration, you feel that little I don't know, the little sparkliness in your stomach kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's when
for me, I knew the moment someone told me about this existed, I was like, wait, what? Okay, this is me. This is made for me right now. I just knew it. I heard about this thing, and this is what I have to do. And it was the thing I needed to do in that moment. And it took me to my next level of where I needed to be. It got me to where I am today.
Yeah, and I think, for people who have experienced it and for people who want to experience it, I really want to connect those two people, because it's something that needs to be shared. It's such a beautiful medicine. I want to talk about also the effects it has on people, for example, struggling with cancer, or people struggling with guilt, emotional, really deep set emotional trauma, whatever that may be. It is such a good medicine, and it really needs the fear associated with it. There's really, like I said earlier, is negligible. Risk of fatality or anything like that. The other thing too is it actually repairs your biology. It actually physically repairs you, as well as emotionally and spiritually. So people go, oh, is it going to ruin my brain? Am I going to be really dumb afterward? No, you're not. Go ahead, research it, read the books. There's DMT, the spirit molecule, if you want to read that book. Do your own research, find your truth. But what I know about it is it's only good stuff. And it's really a medicine. And it heals you on many levels.
It's kind of it's interesting. It's like a perspective matter. So for me, you can listen to me talking right now. It's like, do I sound like I am a pretty in control, I would like to think, person, and I think it has helped me to get to where I am. So, but to many people, I think there are some people that will look at what I did. Actually, people did say this, oh, Mike just went to Peru and he did drugs and he's crazy now and he's going to go quit his job and throw it all away. And for some people, they might interpret it that way. You can interpret it and frame it like that, oh yeah, you just go, it just changed it. He went crazy into this. No, actually, I disagree. I didn't go crazy. I just have a different perspective than I used to have. And I believe that I want to live a life where I believe in individuality and freedom. And now that I'll just believe in it and say the words individuality and freedom, like many people just say these words, I actually believe it truly and live it. I'm going to live a life where I'm an individual and I'm free and I'm living the way how I try to make the world better, try to be a good person, spread love, and I want to live
walk the talk, by all means.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, does that mean I'm crazy? Well, if that's what you think crazy is, then absolutely, ayahuasca made me crazy.
Yeah, such a good crazy.
So that's how I break it down.
Yeah, and I don't judge the people that say, hey, you're throwing your life away with, with ayahuasca, you're doing drugs, and that's so bad for you. I'm like, you know what? Do you really know? Go out, find that research, find out what the studies are saying. And I'm sure there's two sides to it, but really, make a decision based on it. Because a lot of people, they repeat what they hear. They're little and people go, drugs are bad. The DARE kids or whatever.
DARE, yeah.
Against
drugs and alcohol resistance education.
Something like that.
This is that, and for non-American listeners, that was what we were, the propaganda machine.
We were little.
When we were little kids, it was
drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad. They pounded in your head.
And people just repeat, and they believe that to be truth because they were taught, and then they just repeat. It's like, no, you just go back, really, just research it.
And of course, there's risks with drugs. This isn't, I have to say, all drugs are great and good. Go and just do drugs. Everyone just go and put drugs in your body. That's not what's the case. Every single substance has pros, cons, risks. Some to higher degrees of, like heroin, for example, a much higher degree.
Especially if they're, manufactured man-made chemicals. And like, I'm going to pour bleach into like this. Oops.
And what we need to be, I think where we need to go as a society is a place where we talk about these things openly, honestly. And we say, well, for each particular substance, here are the risk factors, here are the benefits, here's what it is, without trying to spin, this blanket propaganda we were fed growing up. Drugs are bad, okay? Just don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Drink this alcohol. It's okay to drink alcohol and it was drug and alcohol resistance education. I'll give them that. They were saying they resist alcohol, but the overall culture of society is this weird thing that we do where we think alcohol's accepted, which is arguably the most dangerous drug out there.
That's
Yet everything else
what I've read as well, that it's more damaging to your body.
To your body, it gets you violent. It's damaging to society. You're drinking and driving. In so many ways, alcohol is so much more damaging than any other thing. Yet alcohol is accepted and we're okay with it just because it's part of our culture. Everyone talks about any other, starts talking about, people talk about weed or LSD or all these things, and all of a sudden it becomes
you're a druggie.
These are hard drugs. We call these hard drugs.
Yeah, or like the gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
Marijuana or something
all
like that.
These things.
It's a gateway to what?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, about alcohol, yes, it is damaging, and I'm completely aware, but I drink.
But I drink too. Oh, of course,
yes.
I drink also.
But
alcohol has its time and place. I'm not here to bash alcohol. I drink like the next person,
Right.
And alcohol has its place. They all have their time and their place, and they can be used responsibly or they can be used destructively. And I think it's
key words there.
Exactly. And it's like we need to have this actual open, honest dialogue about, like, don't just label things and put them in a bin. Drug or okay, that's the problem, is we just have this bins we put things in rather than intelligently thinking about them and looking at them and saying, what is this?
That's so correct. I see people labeling. It's funny, we do this as human beings. We have an experience with something. I mean, the dating too. All women are bad, all men are bad.
Right.
Like you have an experience, you're like, oh, alcohol's terrible, it's the worst for you. It's like in moderation. However, once again, going back to your personal truth and reality, right now, alcohol, you want to stop for 6 months, whatever, or whatever.
Ayahuasca,
do it, and then after that, you're like, that's cool. Change your mind. I think, you're very good at keeping an open mind.
Try to.
It's like people set up. This is what I believe. It's like,
and they stay with those beliefs. You
don't have to.
Like and maybe it's part of like an egotistical. I'm a victim myself. I've had beliefs that I've had, and out of my own ego, I want to hold on to a belief just because I don't want to think that I was wrong. But I think it's okay to think, you know what, I used to think a certain way, and now I have new information, and my views are changed.
Yes, that's a really key thing, very much. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna come down to the wind up part of the episode here, because we've been going for a pretty good time. I'm gonna ask you a question though.
Of course.
That I ask everyone that comes on this show, and it can be, what is something that you would like to do in your life before you die?
Man, I've done a lot of the things, funny enough, that I said I have to do this before I die. One of them was traveling through Southeast Asia. I did it. The jumping out of the plane thing. I mean, I've done pretty much all the things. That's a really tough question. The first thing that comes to mind is to love. To really love, like unconditional love, and it's hard. It's hard because I keep going back between, if you want to talk about dimensions, between vibrations, dimensions, realities. When you love, and we talked about this last night specifically, and you pour your heart out, you could get really hurt by other people.
Yes, you can. You can make yourself vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And you also, it's hard to function in a world that is shielded. We talked about this last night. It's a shielded world where everybody's kind of out for themselves and speaking about the ego, not just in like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, but the ego is identifying the self and the preservation of self. It seems like unconditional love will get you trampled the hell out. And I really just want to love and spread the message. And the reason why is because I believe that that love, the raising of vibration, if I raise my vibration, I can affect your energy field, and in turn you affect, there's like that the exponential effect of that, and it changes and it raises the vibration of the world. It's been said in transcendental meditation and that sort of thing, that it really helps to increase peace, to increase, love and communion between people. And I also have, just a little thing about me, I have like a page on Facebook. It's Meditation Nation.
Yes, please plug that. Plug away.
Yeah, and I guess that's my thing. I want to love hard. I really, really, and I try, and sometimes I do, and I fail, and that's the point. That's what I want to do.
I think that's really cool what you're doing also. Meditation is, I've experienced it to be tremendously helpful, and you're spreading like, hey, meditation, this is something, it's part of this process. It's just like, say, ayahuasca can help meditation also in different and also similar ways can help you it's helped me, I'll say, can help to grow and go up to my next level. These are tools I use to help me, and it's great. And I think, that is a great, I relate to everything you're saying, because when I want to be someone who's just love, just spreading love to the world, and it's hard because you do make yourself vulnerable. If you just are trusting and loving, there are people out there that are looking for vulnerable people, and they will attack you. So we all put our guards up. If we lived in a world where everyone was loving everyone, then it would work and we'd be better.
Perfect, yeah.
But if the fact that I know that if I'm going to leave myself vulnerable and someone else is there to take advantage of that means I have to put my guard up. And as a result, everyone puts their guard up a little bit, and we end up in this world where we're all got our guard up, and we're not spreading love.
Screw ourselves and each other in the process.
And we end up, it's the classic prisoner's dilemma that we talked about yesterday.
Correct.
And I don't want to get too much. You can Google prisoner's dilemma, but it's kind of where we found ourselves, where if we cooperated, essentially, we'd end up in a better situation. But everyone, by not trusting each other, we act in our own self-interest, and we end up in a lower place, ultimately.
And then just always remember, you either operate out of love or you operate out of fear. Just try to keep yourself in the love, in the love, motivation, inspiration, whatever you want to call it. We'll wrap it up. But by all means, if anybody's listening to this and they want to reach out, I am so happy to, knowing you, Mike, it's like we've created, and we are friends and everything, we've created a community around us. And I think not just us, but many, many communities that believe in love, and that it's a safe haven for people that really make themselves vulnerable, and they have a community that shelters, protects. It's like a baby plant, that sort of thing. So by all means, if anybody wants to reach out about meditation, ayahuasca, love, vibration, anything, quantum physics, all the metaphysics, anything we talk about, we're here, open, reachable, and available.
What's the best way someone should get in touch with you?
Happy to share.
Or find what you're working on.
Jackie Hollant on Facebook.
Okay.
Just find me. It's JACKIE space HOLLANT.
Sweet.
You can find Meditation Nation, meditate with us, hang out.
Yeah, is that so they can just search for Meditation Nation also on Facebook and find the page?
Yes. I think it's a page, or it's a group, sorry.
It's a group, okay.
Maybe I should do both.
Yeah, well, I guess if they can't find it, they can message you and you can add them or whatever.
Or they can message you.
Also. Cool. Well, this was an awesome conversation. It feels good to talk about these things, thank you everybody for tuning into this episode of Walking the Earth podcast. Again, you can find us at WTEpodcast.com. Signing off now from Kuala Lumpur. I'm Mike, and I'm here with my friend Jackie.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on and having this little great conversation.
Indeed, I enjoyed it. Thank you. Much love.
Thank you, everybody, and goodbye for now.